time for Scholomance. Absolutely fabulous. So, welcome to my Scholomance guide. We're not going to be using the leader, but starting off here, we have Fairy Dragon. We're going to use Fey Blessing for the resistance on the Molten Giant. We're going to use Safe Pilot with Cloaking to take chests. Molten Giant, I recommend the one that explodes to clean up the garbage. Will the Necropolis on Banshee to heal up those abominations. Mighty Throw on Griffin to help her outrange opponents. And Conflagrate for the extra splash on the Pyromancer. So we're going to be taking absolutely terrible relics for this run just to focus on the mechanics of the dungeon. There is only one mechanic in the Jandice fight, and she spawns these little illusions that will teleport around, and if you don't kill them quickly enough, they turn into books. They also will volley down at your tower from over a head, so you'll tend to lose your tower, and the most important thing is basically to take this middle tower and the right tower. So starting off, I get a really poor hand, so I'm going to cycle my cheapest units on the right, the Griffin and the Pyromancer, so they can shoot down from the bridge. And the Kobold's going to take one gold, which is going to allow me to spawn this Molten Giant down the middle. And my opponent here is going to spawn an Abomination. It's going to pull my Pyromancer, so we're going to spawn this Banshee to take the Abomination, and we're going to have a very strong push going down the middle. Now we want to try and take this tower on the right. So unfortunately, Jandice spawns her illusion on the right. She has a pretty long lock-on, so this allows the tower to finish constructing, which gives me a pretty good window to sniper. And for whatever reason, she just turns into books really quickly there. I don't know why that is, but that's fine with us because now we want to try and secure this chest just to keep it from going to the enemy hands. It would be nice if I had spawned the Kobold in the middle there so I can get that chest, or on the right, which I did now. And now I want to actually send my Molten Giant right. I think I was a little bit delayed here. I shouldn't have made that Griffin right. I should have made the Molten Giant right to try and take that tower. And the most important thing is just to secure the right tower in the middle, just because that will give you a strong amount of map control, which will set you up to basically win this fight. I think I spawned my Fairy Dragon a little bit too early there. It's nice to have it as support to keep these books off your Molten Giant so you have a strong push. By controlling this right tower, you basically control the gold mine in the middle and the gold mine on the right. And you have a pretty good access to the chest in the middle. So I'm going to just spawn this long-range Banshee to try and snipe this Abomination. It's going to give me pretty good control of the middle here. And we're going to use the Griffin Rider to snipe Jandice. Unfortunately, she locks onto the Griffin Rider, but we're able to clean her up. So now we're in a very good position here. We're going to use the Pyromancer on the right to clean up those vultures. And I'm going to start my first push on Jandice from the right with Molten Giant. Again, I think I spawned my Fairy Dragon just a little bit too early here. We want the Molten Giant to get a little bit of distance so that the Fairy Dragon can live and do a bunch of damage from behind. We're going to secure the gold in the middle. I'm going to use the Griffin once the scene is safe to move in and take Jandice. I think I probably could have sent it in sooner. So this is a mistake that I made. I think I should have waited for this group to come forward and then used my Pyromancer to clear. Fortunately, the Pyromancer is going to clean up this Jandice in the middle, is doing nothing. And because I'm Ragnaros, I do get to clean up this wave on the right. It's a pretty big wave overall. I was trying to experiment to see if the Kobold would go back and grab that mine. It does not, so you have to spawn it from base. Sometimes it may be best to do a big push from the base on the right, just so you can challenge the Jandice and then take the gold mine that's on the right. But as you can see here, we're able to just quickly push into her, even at -3 on her Molten Giant, and nuke her down because she does magic damage. The Griffin at 8 range can outrange her, and the Molten Giant can tank with the Fairy Dragon resistance. So next round we have Rattlegore, and Rattlegore, his only mechanic is when you walk next to these little graves on the ground, he will spawn a Rattlegore minion, and maybe a few skeletons in addition to that. So it's a very simple fight. Overall, it's just a tank and spank. We're going to do the exact same strategy here. We're going to go down the right and the middle, and then overwhelm him with the Molten Giant and the flyers that are at range. Mostly, it's just important to control this gold mine on the right because that's the one that spawns with the most gold nodes, and I think it gets the most gold over the course of the fight. I'm going to use a Banshee to take this Abomination. That's why I really like the Banshee. Abomination is in all 3 fights for this dungeon, but big problem is it's really hard to mind control the Abominations in the 3rd fight. So she ends up being kind of a dead card in the 3rd fight. But for this, at least she's very good value. We're going to make sure we hold this stone on the right. That's why I spawned so far back. Use the Pyromancer to clean up the trash. This is actually a very straightforward fight, so there's not really a lot to cover. I'm going to use the Kobold to keep cycling. And fortunately, I believe that Fairy Dragon outranges Rattlegore here. So we just want to have one Molten Giant on the right and one Molten Giant on the left when we can, just to kind of split up his attack so we're not getting cleaved down. His cleave is actually very short. Might have been correct to use the Banshee, but as you can see here, sometimes a skeleton spawns, so you might actually end up losing your Banshee to just a random skeleton, which would not be ideal. So I just try to be a little extra safe here and make sure I don't lose this gold mine in the back. I use a Griffin to kind of hold the meeting stone and the Kobold that's approaching, and we end up clearing anyway. So pretty easy fight. Now Darkmaster Gandling is actually a very difficult fight, and just take a look here at the top left. There are 2 chests, one is open and one is closed, and I've seen him spawn up to 4 chests on top of each other. So these little rooms that you can get teleported into are of paramount importance. It is very important that you win them, because if you lose them, he can gain a lot of gold very quickly and it can snowball out of control from there. So the way this fight works is every so often he will walk left and right and back to center, and he will just spawn a portal on the ground there. The portal is a big purple circle, and no matter how many units walk into it, it will trigger one of these rooms to spawn a chest and a set of skeletons that defend or try and take the chest. So it's really important to try and win these rooms, because if you don't, he gets the skeletons and he also gets the chest, which starts snowballing out of control, especially if he spawns 4 chests like I've seen him do before and gives him a lot of gold to work with. So to overcome this, I found the best strategy is to just go all in on one side and not try and take the other side at all. Because unfortunately, if even one mini goes into that room, it will trigger a fight and he will get free skeletons, and it's very difficult to win on all fronts. So starting off here is first bit of RNG. Ideally, you'd have like a Molten Giant to start off with, but if the opponent decides to just randomly make a Kobold, they may just get the mine for free, and that will give them a pretty big advantage starting out here. Because I made that Kobold, we are going to contest this Meeting Stone, but he does make a Necromancer, which makes it so I do not take the Meeting Stone. But Kobold will never reveal himself, which is kind of nice, because now I actually can just take the Meeting Stone. I can just ninja it away from him. So now we have our first push going forward with the Molten Giant. And this is going to be a problem, because my Kobold actually walks into the circle and it triggers the first room, which is going to cause a chest to spawn. So he's going to get the chest for free, and he's going to get a set of skeletons for free. So it's actually really important to try and slow roll this push and not rush forward. I'm thinking that, in retrospect, looking at this fight, it may actually be best to spawn like as close to the base as possible and at the very bottom of the map, because this will increase the pathing amount that your minis have to go. And so this will give you a bigger opportunity to make a big push going forward. I think it's really important to have the biggest push you can and have all your units kind of grouped up, because you'll note like none of the enemy minis are really splash except for the meat wagon, which you really should save your safe pilot to deal with. So as long as we have a Griffin Rider and the Fairy Dragon to deal with these Harpies, we should be fine. Otherwise, the Pyromancer should suffice as well. If you have Witch Doctor, that's also a good alternative. So see here, I should be dropping either my Safe Pilot or the Molten Giant to contest this Meat Wagon. Unfortunately, I'm going to have a pretty poor engagement on this room. So we have our Safe Pilot, and this is another good use for the Safe Pilot, is to just try and contest these chests, clean up all these skeletons. You'll notice that I'm not even trying to contest the right side. I just don't even want to trigger his portals whatsoever over there. One side is enough. You see there's a duplicate set of chests that have been spawned here, so we're going to actually get a massive push forward here. It does take a minute. It might have been 3 sets of chests that actually spawned, so this is a really critical chest set to win here. I don't know what causes this, but it's really bad if you do not win this. It's another chest. Yep. Yeah, 8 gold there. So very important. That's why we focus all of our fights on the one side. And you'll notice that the Molten Giant, even though it's 3 levels down, is holding his own against the Abomination. We may not end up winning the middle there, but the fight is just so protracted that it's not a big deal, and that Abomination will likely end up being very low when it is all said and done. Unfortunately, my Molten Giant did not get sucked into the room. I think kind of spawning him towards the middle of the lane instead of on the right is going to increase your chances of putting him in the room. But I did get a nice configuration where my range units were on the left. Did I just get 10 gold there? Holy cow. This is busted, man. I don't know what's going on with this fight. Never seen that number 10 pop up before. So now we have a really massive push going forward here. Unfortunately, I do not have a safe pilot. So this is a moment where I could lose if he had a bunch of minis. But there it is. You just push the one side and make sure you're winning those rooms. And that's going to be how you secure victory on this map. Thank you all for watching. If you like what I do, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. I'll catch you on the flip side. Thank you all. Bye-bye.